What is happening? Welcome to our Living in Michigan Live. I'm here with my trusted co-host, Mr. Juan. What's up?
What is up, y'all? Good evening. Happy to be here.
And our trusted co-host, Miss Sophia Cruz. What's happening? You are on mute, Sophia.
Hey, everybody. I'm doing good. Hope everyone's having a great night.
It is going to be a good night. It is Wednesday. We are back with another live episode of Living in Michigan here. And tonight, we're going to unpack some burning questions that we've been getting, here in the real estate industry. And I think it's just, so fitting coming into 2024. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk, in the industry about what the Fed is doing, how interest rates are going to affect home buyers, home sellers, right? We're on this path to hedge inflation. And the Fed is calling for what we think is a soft landing. So we're going to get into some numbers tonight. We're going to geek out a little bit, and then we're going to talk about what's going on in our local communities. We're getting a lot of questions about that. I know Sophia has some exciting things to share. But these lives are intended for you guys really to ask questions. So we want you to interact with us. If you are watching and you do have questions, drop it in the comments below, and drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. We love to know. We love to connect with you and understand where you're watching and coming from. It helps us, cater more content maybe to you if you're coming from the West Coast or from the East Coast. We can talk about those things as well. So we're gonna dive into some numbers today. But before we do, if you're not following this channel, make sure you go follow on YouTube, on social media. Give it a follow, give it a like. We really appreciate it. It helps YouTube let us know that we're doing a great job at these lives, and we appreciate it as well. So let's talk a little bit about the Fed and what's going on with the Fed here. Juan, I know you've been getting a lot of questions. Sophia, you've been getting a lot of questions about like what does this mean, for 2024? Is it a good time to buy homes? And the big thing going around social media right now is the headline that the Fed is going to cut interest rates 6 times in 2024. All right. So most folks are asking like, well, 6 times, that seems like a lot, right? Like, what does that actually mean? Juan, what does this actually mean to you? Like when you hear this from the Fed, we're going to cut rates 6 times. What does this mean?
Well, first of all, I don't believe it. So, let's start with dealing in reality, right? Which
debunked already.
Yeah. Like, I mean, y'all listen, it would be an incredible experience in the most negative way possible. Right. I'm sure, Eric, you're going to get into that, but like, how, and I'm more, do you have the article that you can share? So like, let's give some context to the conversation.
So why he's doing that question though, how many times did they raise it this year? Do we know that?
Oh, it was 6 straight times. I had all this data before, guys. Forgive me. I was nerding out all kinds of wild on this, but there was at least 7 straight rate hikes, and I think there was many as 10 out of 14 opportunities where they took to raise interest rates.
Yeah.
So pretty significant in terms of the jump on that. I've got it too, Eric, if you need me to pop it up.
But if you can get to it faster, I got it right here, but go for it.
Okay. So we always want to give context for our conversation. And this is the article that people are running around the internet sharing right now. And this is the one that piqued your interest, right, Eric?
Yep.
Okay. So and I wasn't trying to go sideways around it, but I'm just always trying to deal in reality, right? Like, what does that mean? Right. So your question specifically was what? Just so I can.
So somebody that doesn't understand, what the Fed rate increases or decreases means, like, we've never heard the Fed use this context of like, we're going to, cut rates 6 times. All right. It's really odd. So like hearing this. So the question is what does the rate cut mean for everybody watching?
Yeah. So in the most simple terms, the way that it was explained to me, just to make it simple, right, is the Federal Reserve does not control the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Just so everybody's clear, right? These things are independent of each other, but there are parallels, and that's where we need to pull into focus. The Federal Reserve raising or lowering interest rates has to do with the Federal Reserve Fund rate, which is the rate that banks loan each other money to overnight. And the key bank being the Central Bank of the United States. All right. So whatever number they're loaning money to each other at interest, it's usually the mortgage is usually some variation of a couple percent higher than that number. That's the way it works. So when Fed funds rates were down in zero back in 2021, that's how we were able to see those 2.75% mortgage rates, right? And as interest rates have increased since then, it has put pressure on mortgage-backed securities, which in turn, right, drives the mortgage rates. There's a few other factors, y'all. I just don't want to get too far in the weeds. But at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve, the United States Central Bank, controls the dial of money flow. Is the easiest way to think of this. So when the Federal Reserve wants to lower interest rates, what that means is they are printing money and pushing that into the economy. When they want to get tighter, when they want to raise interest rates, they start taking money back out of the economy. They start buying, they start calling those notes due, right? Pulling income in. And that illiquidity, right? Meaning that the money supply is tighter, it drives up the demand for financial products, right? Meaning how much it costs, supply and demand, just like housing. Does that make sense, everyone? Did I explain that clearly?
Yes.
All right.
We're good.
Because it's like they try to make this stuff confusing on purpose, right? You got a bunch of people sitting in a room who read reports, who actually, right, their primary function is things like optimal employment. That's about as ambiguous as it gets. And I know they'll give you some semantics about what that's supposed to be, but the Federal Reserve for the last year was trying to put people out of work to slow down the economy because you and I are spending too much money. And inflation was running hot. That's the term that they use, right? So the way that you slow down the economy is you make money very expensive. So you start pulling money. The Federal Reserve is pulling money out of the economy, right? And they start putting people out of jobs. Well, if you're afraid that you're going to lose your job, what is usually the first thing that you stop doing?
Spending money.
Spending money, right? And that's the first one. And the second thing is if I make interest so expensive that you can no longer afford an asset like a home, that also does what? You stop spending money there. It slows down the economy. And in theory, and this is a giant theory, in theory, that's supposed to disinflate the asset, meaning that prices are supposed to come down. But there's this little tricky sticking point that we have in our economy called supply and demand that I mentioned before. Well, if you don't have enough supply, even though demand is stifled, it's very hard to drive down pricing. So ultimately, here we are, right? So I'm intrigued as where Eric's going to lead us tonight. So hopefully that was a simple example of that. But again, the Federal Reserve, right? First of all, it's it's not federal, nor does it have reserves. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. It is not the government. It is the central bank. Okay. And they control the money supply. So if they want interest rates to go down, right, they go click the button on the printing press, which now is just the enter button on our computer, and create more money. Poof, right? You and I go to prison for that, but the central bank is good with it, just so everybody's okay. And when they want to slow down the economy, right, they pull that money back in. They erase those zeros and ones, so to speak. So that's how we got here. Long story short.
Digital currency, right? Digital currency. Yeah, no, thanks for that. So, where I want to take this tonight, guys, is really understanding what this means for you as potential home buyer, home seller, right? Because we're in real estate and we have people moving all over from California to New York, from Florida, and people are moving around because of job and opportunities, coming to Florida, coming to Michigan. Like these are things that we're dealing with on a regular basis, and what we're hearing more and more of nowadays is it's becoming more unaffordable, in most cities to buy a home, right? The middle class is getting squeezed out, as they say, and we're trying to understand, okay, is home affordability going to be something that you can attain? Can our kids attain that? And there's a lot of companies out there, that are starting to build rent build to rent
Built rent.
communities, right? And we're starting to see these pop up more, and these are backed by a lot of the institutions, a lot of the big institutions, big corporate dollars, who are seeing an opportunity in the market. They want to bring affordability to it, but they're taking advantage of it as well. So, this is what we're tracking to. There's a lot of factors here, and I don't want you to really just look at one factor. Okay, the purpose of this live and kind of taking a deep dive into this stuff is to really explore what's going on in the housing market, to a certain degree, because it's not just about interest rates, right? It's not just about unemployment rates, right? There may be a lot of things that contribute to this, but they're all interconnected at some point, right? And looking at this from a macro, is prudent, because ultimately there's going to be shifts in the market, right? There's going to be things that change, and we need to be able to react to them. So having conversations with you guys, about, can I buy a home in Ann Arbor? Can I buy a home in West Bloomfield and Royal Oak, at these price points, right, that we want to? And I just got off a call with some clients that are moving here from Indiana, right, and they're looking at condos in the Ann Arbor area. And of course, we have a budget that is a little bit more difficult to find those type of condos in the area. So now we're starting to explore different strategies, to bring those interest rates down, or looking at different programs. So it's really getting consultant with each and every one of you, to understand how we can best help, at the end of the day. But I want to dive in. We're gonna tell a story here, about what these interest rates could potentially do, and how you can navigate this housing market to make sure you don't get left behind, in it. Because I certainly, if that's a cue to some predictions that we have on what we're seeing, I certainly have some thoughts on where I see this housing market going. So let me pull these up here. So let's take a look. So what I have up here is the Fred. So this is the data that we get from the government, in terms of what interest rates are doing and what other things that are happening in the economy, are going on. So this is the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, over the course of back to like around 1975, time frame. And really just looking at this, there's one area I want to point back to, because the last time we saw inflation like this was back in the 80s. Right? And I think there's a big story to be pulled, out of the 80s, in terms of what happened, because this was a big mistake that I think the government made, and the Fed made, to hedge against inflation. And then they saw it kind of leveling off, and then they eased up a little bit, and then it went rapid, so we don't have a chart of the inflation, back to the
I do.
80s.
I
You
do.
do?
Yeah, if you want
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you want to pull that up, let's take a look at that really quick before we jump into this.
Yeah, I find this fascinating. So it's from the Fed as well. So same website, everyone. We'll put the link to this down below, but I think this is super pertinent. So rather than looking at 2000, let's go back to what happened in the 70s and 80s, because this is what Eric is referring to. So let's get into this window here. And it looks more drastic when you do it from a distance, Eric. So I'm going to run it from this perspective here.
Yep.
Okay, because this is what Eric's referring to. Go ahead.
Yep, absolutely. So, what the Fed did, back then, was we saw inflation, and we have inflation. It's consumer index pricing in purple, and then we have what's the inflation line?
The inflation is the purple. So, well, that's
Yeah.
the CPS, right? CPI. So the consumer pricing index is what they're looking at, right? That is everything they're following with us. Minus, hold on now, here's important stuff. Minus energy and food, which this is a whole nother topic, right? But the way that they track this is for consumer goods, what we are spending money on, the consumer pricing index. How is that relative to inflation? And the number is what Eric is referring to. So this was the spike that happened in 1977 through early 1980.
Yep. Got it. Okay. So just getting our bearings straight there. So, when we look at that, we're looking at how the consumer price index, had an effect on the economy. So it went up, it came back down, and then you can see that blip like right at the bottom there when it's coming back down, and then it shot back up again. Okay. So this was a little bit of the easing, right, that happened, in the economy. And then they said, whoop, I think we pulled back too much, and then it went up again, right? And then they started seeing it come back down. So this happened, and looking at it, what the Fed doesn't want to do is have this happen again. Okay, so if the interest rates come down too much, we're going to have a big problem on our hands with prices of goods going through the roof.
Yep.
Right? Prices of homes and housing being one of those. Right? There's a lot of other factors that go in there, but this conversation we want to focus on the housing, because housing costs did go up as a result of that. Interest rates went up, it stopped people from buying, they came back down rapidly, and then inflation, went up again. Right? And that's what they're trying to avoid this time. So we started this, whole entire, stream by talking about the Fed publicly declaring that they're going to drop interest rates 6 times in 2024, right? Which is madness to me. Like, for them to already have a plan, going into 2024 to drop rates. When this year they said we're going to take this on a month by month basis, right? We're going to look at the numbers every single month and make educated decisions on where things are at. So to hear this and really see they're already declaring 6 rate cuts for 2024, I'm like, how is this even possible? Right.
Well, do keep in perspective, Eric, these are the same people that told you that inflation was transitory and it was not an issue.
Facts.
And I'm not an economist, y'all. Here's the thing I want to make sure that I preface this with. I'm not an economist, right?
He
But
should be.
well, at the end of and thank you, but I listen, these people have done work. It is in their field of expertise. But what that goes to show you is he who lives by the crystal ball is destined to eat glass. Great quote by Ray Dalio, right? And if the head of the United States Federal Reserve Bank can't tell you where the money is headed, do you have confidence that they can do exactly what they say they're going to do? Something that people don't pay attention to, Eric, is the lag. Remember, housing there's a lot of lag in housing because of the sales cycle and how long it takes to close a property. Mm-hmm. Quite often when the Federal Reserve starts making, when interest rates start making a move, we don't see that reflection for 3, 6, 9 months, sometimes as many as 18 months.
Right.
So Eric's bringing a great point, but we want to be clear, right? Just because someone is deemed an expert doesn't mean they have all the answers. Remember, 2008 occurred and everybody was an expert back then. Right. And the focus of these calls that we do in these lives is so we can all get better educated to make qualified decisions. Right. Because we're speculating too. All right. We're speculating too. So these are fair questions that need to be asked. And Eric's asking a great question because I know why he's going after this, because this article it's clickbait. And it's fine. And it's finest.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that drives me nuts, because now what the effect of this is, and really just break it down, is right now everybody is waiting for something to happen. Right, it wasn't bad enough that everyone was waiting for interest rates to drop in general, home prices to drop in general, right? Because, and it's not because people think they're smart or they want to get the best price possible or the best rate possible. There's that too, but it's this idea that I don't want to I can't afford what's already out there. So I want to be able to afford more, right? Is really what it comes down to. Right. So, having these conversations, this type of stuff is just delaying what the inevitable is, right? Which is there are going to be interest rate cuts at some point.
Yep.
Okay. That will happen, but it's not going to happen all at once. It's not like tomorrow we're going to wake up and interest rates are going to be at 5% or 6%. Right. We've seen a slowdown right now in mortgage interest rates. Right. They've come down to I think in some cases, people with good credit scores have seen high sixes. Right. They're right down right around the 7% range. And there was this news anchor that had a saying when they were talking about this. I was watching this article and he said, this is like, this type of stuff is like bringing a keg to a frat party at 2:00 in the morning, right? Like it keeps the party going much longer. Everyone's having so much fun, but all you're doing is delaying the worst hangover that you could have.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what's happening is there's so much pent up demand in the market right now that people are just sitting on the sidelines. Right. There's so many buyers just sitting on the sidelines waiting for interest rates or home prices to come down so they can be like these little cheetahs and pounce into the market, right, and grab all their houses that they want to buy. Meanwhile, we have large institutions who are building, like I mentioned, build to rent communities
Or buy to rent.
or buy to rent.
Yep.
Right. And we got companies out there now that are offering, we will give you the equity in your home. Okay. And if you don't know about these, go look it up. This is home equity, not line of credit. Okay. Home equity just given to you. Right. Home equity. And the exchange is no payments, no interest. We want a share of your home of future value.
Yeah. It's fractional ownership, right? You're entering into a partnership with Uncle Sammy. Not Uncle Sam is in the U.S. government. Uncle Sam is in the guy who's got a pile of cash in the backyard that can help you out, right?
Mr. Mortgage.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous. Well, I love this topic, Eric, and so you were asking a good question earlier, and I would love to let I got that video of Barbara Corcoran. And for those of you who don't know, Barbara Corcoran was a shark on Shark Tank for years and years and years. And she's also a real estate veteran and mogul, so to speak, right? Now, you don't have to take it from me, but this is someone who's built a very large brand and a humongous real estate practice. Corcoran Real Estate is a very large real estate enterprise who handles a ton of real estate transactions in the United States. Luxury, residential. I mean, talk about doing the job, right? Barbara does that. And she was just on MSNBC or one of them recently. And she's been talking about this since interest rates started to increase. So this is not new from her, right? But she just came on again and backed up with receipts what she had been saying. And she's going right along where Eric is headed right now. Right. Which is, and Eric's right. If you have a finite amount of supply and all of a sudden money starts getting cheap again, what is going to happen to that supply? Right. What's going to happen? We're waiting on this theoretical downturn in pricing, which may or may not occur, y'all. And listen, I'm going to be transparent. If something catastrophic happened in our economy, that absolutely would put downward pressure on housing, period. It puts downward pressure on everything. That's the reality of it, right? But based upon the trends and information like you're seeing, the Fed did not say this, by the way. This is the article. It's insane. But based upon information like this, people make decisions. They read a headline like this and they go, okay, I knew it. Interest rates are coming down. They're going to raise them 6 times. I'm going to wait even longer. Wait even longer. And that, Eric, we just had an offer, 40,000 over we lost it against another property in an 8% interest rate environment. They got 40,000 over. We offered 40,000 over and didn't get it accepted. Our clients. So like, listen, people are moving, right? People are moving. I want to play this this video for you guys really quick. It's a short segment, 50 seconds, but it is from Barbara Corcoran explaining what it is that Eric's going down to. And then I would love for Eric to really kind of unpack this, because this is where he's headed. And I love his thinking on this. But more importantly, we want you guys to understand why. Why are we thinking this way?
Yeah.
Right? So let's get into that really quick.
It's a good one.
Prices are not going to come down. I believe that when the real estate interest rates come down, when the mortgage rates come down, all hell's going to, oh, you're not supposed to say that.
It's morning television, not beyond Shark Tank.
Every buyer on the sideline is going to jump into the market as long as the interest rates come down to 5 or 4%. And houses are going to go up in price all over again. I wouldn't be surprised if they go up by as much as 10 or 15% when that happens.
Oh, wow. So what advice do you have for people who want to buy a home now, first-time
You
home
have to
buyers?
adjust your horizon. You have to adjust what you're looking for. It's not an easy thing, especially when you know your neighbor has bought their house at a cheap interest rate at a lower price than you're getting. But you have to make that adjustment. You also have to shop for a mortgage rate. People don't know, if you go to your main bank, they will usually give you, as a banker at their institution, 1/4% off. Doesn't sound like a lot, but at least it helps.
And I think it's wonderful perspective, first and foremost, right? What a great clip. And I agree. And I know, Eric, this is where you're headed with this as well. I don't know that we're going to see 3 or 4% interest rates ever again. Right? It may happen in our lifetime, but like banking on that is like waiting. We're unicorn hunting at this point. Right? We're looking for leprechauns and unicorns with 3%, 2%, and 4% interest rates.
Right.
I mean, just when we started out, when you said, it's going down 6 times, in my mind, it took me right back to when we were at the low interest rates and the market was insane. And people were like, I don't want to buy right now. I don't want to offer 20, 30, 40 grand over asking price to get this house. But wait a minute, you wanted to wait till interest rates were low. So this is what's happening. I mean, so if they do cut them 6 times again, like that's where my mind went back to that crazy market where we're pretty crazy.
Yep, and Barbara sees it. She's a smart lady, and we've been seeing it. And this is when you really take a step back, right? Kind of take yourself out of an emotional state of, well, I want interest rates to come down. I want home prices to come down, right? That's a desire, right? That would make it more affordable for a lot more people. But the reality is there's a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for that to happen as well. Right. And, you start seeing, these communities, and yesterday, which can't get all my days mixed up here. Yesterday, I just met with a nonprofit organization here in Brighton called Housing Catalyst. Right. And their main goal and objective is to build affordable housing for Livingston County. Okay. And they're going to start tracking into Washtenaw County as well. And there's some other organizations that they're partnering with, to do it. So we were going through the economics of it. And it's not just these organizations that recognize there is a big void for affordable housing in these areas. It's becoming a national problem, right? It became a problem in areas where housing grew very rapidly, right? House prices went up. There's not enough of them. People want to live in these areas. So it's becoming more of an issue, but we're starting to see this on a national scale, right? I'm in places that, you wouldn't even think, right? Where like the median income for a household is $45,000 in some places. And you have a household that has 2 working parents, bringing in maybe 90 to 100,000, maybe it's called 110 just to be on the safe side. The average home in the US in most areas is now over $300,000. Right? You need to make $120,000 a year to buy that home.
That's 420.
Right? So you get more specific in these different areas, like Ann Arbor, average price is $510,000.
Yep.
Right. And now some areas are now even up into 525 in certain subdivisions.
The average.
The average. Right. So you start taking a look at this and really taking a step back and saying, is this going to change? Right. Is there a likelihood? And when I see companies, and this is, the stuff that gets me, kind of riled up about this, is you start seeing companies like Wall Street has purchased hundreds of thousands of single family homes since the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why are large institutions like this buying single family homes? That is the biggest question we should be asking as a society, right? If this is really happening, and they're purchasing these homes at scale like this, they're squeezing out the middle class. They want it to become a renter's economy. If they own all the assets, what choice does anybody have but to rent at that point? Because you can't afford to buy. All right. So, I see a lot of organizations like the one I was just, at yesterday, the Housing Catalyst. They're already working with local municipalities to block institutional buyers from buying homes like this, and changing zoning regulations and things within municipalities to allow for ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, to allow for, tiny home communities, to make it more affordable. And most municipalities have never dealt with this before. So there is going to be some policy change and things that do take shape, to make this. But the biggest thing, is the Fed or the local municipalities have to take a stance against institutional buyers like this from buying up these single family homes.
Yep.
And that's a desire of mine. Whether that's feasible or not, it's to be determined, but that's the most logical thing that could happen.
And it's just part of it, right, Eric? Because like this is the thing, we get really deep talking about this in our agent networks, and this is important to you guys, because here's the real problem. To build a home in the United States, it's a significant investment, right? And I'm not talking about for the consumer, for me and you to buy a home to live in. That's obvious, right? But the builders, okay? And let me explain part of this and why this is, that kind of talk is great, but it's not the solution, right? All that is putting a Band-Aid on a dam, right? And let me explain why, because we get into this really weird world. Okay. It roughly takes 18 months from permit pulling to build a home, for you to turn the key on the front door, roughly. And in order for a builder to come in and build a home now, they have now been asked to build the entire infrastructure first. Okay. When the United States was ripping and roaring and things were growing like out of control, the United States government was the one making the investment in the communities, right? They were doing the roads. They would lend that money to the local municipalities. They would build the roads. They would do the sewers. They would do the water. Like, all those things were done. Guys, that all falls on the builder's shoulders now, right? And they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and go through, and that's one thing, right? Nobody's going to cry a river about anybody making money on the back end. But here's what you need to know. The reason it costs so much money is because they have to go hire engineers and architects, right? They have to go test soil. They have to go in front of planning boards that our local governments have, run all these plans in front of them. Then all of those people put red pen all across the pages. They go pay all these people to fix all the problems. They come back, oh, we decided we need to do this or that as well. All of these things equal delays. And anytime you're talking about delays in any construction project, what does that really equal? Money. And time, right? So we're asking the builders to take all of the upfront cost and risk associated with developing any new real estate in the United States. They have to fight through we all know the bureaucracy that happens at every single municipal level. And then on top of that, right, we're talking about single family developments. We can't even get duplexes, triplexes, or apartments greenlit in any of our communities, because we all want affordable, but none of us want them in our backyard. Right? And I understand. I own a home. If they came and asked me if I wanted to build an apartment in my neighborhood, the answer would be no. So I am part of the problem and part of the solution all at the same time. It's a very interesting dynamic. But when you think about that, it takes so long to build a home. Such a huge investment has to be made up front. All of the onus is put on the builders and the developers to get the land up. The cities don't, and the municipalities don't want any part of it. What they will usually do is loan money in the form of a bond. But outside of that, they're not involved. That's why you have to pay HOAs to get your streets shoveled, because the county's not doing it anymore, right? So with all that being said, these are the challenges we face. We need more housing, but if it takes 18 months to turn a key on a door, it makes it very difficult to fix problems like this in a hurry.
Yeah, that's such a great point too, because one of the challenges that the Housing Catalyst has, we're looking at some of the zoning and how the municipalities can help with this. So Hamburg Township here in Livingston County is one of the only municipalities that will allow for a tiny home. They don't have any restrictions on the square footage of a single family dwelling in that township. Right. So to do a tiny home would be less than like 900 square feet on average, about 400 to 750, square feet. And they said, okay, you can do it, but you have to be where there is city water and city sewer. And, Livingston County is one of those counties that it's primarily made up of well and septic, dwellings in the area. So you got, if this is Hamburg Township, you literally have like this little small window of where city water and city sewer are in there. So like
quarter size over a basketball, right?
Yeah. You can do it. Just go ahead and build in this area, which is like this big. So we're like, okay. Right. So that's just an example of some of the red tape that is involved, with this. That's why I say like, the zonings, the government and municipalities are going to have to start getting involved. And this is going to be a call from, people like us, right, that attend these type of meetings, that are involved in the communities and really start bringing this change to the government, right, and to our communities, because they're not going to do it, right? We've seen this time and time again. We're not going to tell businesses the type of businesses that can come in. We just want businesses to come to our communities, right? But what you see with like Detroit, that was a very well thought out plan of attack, right? And it's got its ups and downs. I'm not saying it's bad or good, but here was the silver lining with the Detroit initiative to bring a lot of businesses down there and a lot of developers down there, is that the biggest thing they did was the tax abatement. All right. When you talk about the tax abatement and these zones that they've developed for the NEZ, right, and you can get NEZ new, you can get NEZ rehab, which basically means, for a tax abatement, means you as a new buyer moving into any of these areas where developers have built homes or rebuilt homes or rehab them, then you don't have to pay taxes for up to 15 years on that property, which is a huge advantage for home buyers. That some of these taxes on properties could be upwards of $12,000-$16,000 because of the Detroit property taxes, for a single family home. You don't have to pay those for 15 years. Right now, 15 years, the idea is that the city is going to be in a state where a lot more people want to move into the area. And that's not going to be an issue, because there's going to be enough money flowing through and enough turnover of those properties to level everything out, right? There'll be enough businesses there and everything. So that's the goal, but it's going to take initiatives like that, to really combat at a micro level, even in our local communities, to bring affordable housing, to it. So we started this whole entire live. I know we got long-winded on this, but like, I just want to recap. We started this whole entire live talking about the Fed interest rates, being cut 6 times going into 2024, which ultimately means they're looking at easing the inflation. Inflation has come to a point. They think they have it under control, and they're declaring some sort of victory, going into 2024, but we don't know when they're going to cut them. So that's the big question mark, and by how much. right? So we could see a trickle down effect. I mean, nothing could happen for the first couple quarters, right? And there's some analysts that are in economics, they're looking at this saying nothing could happen until Q2 or Q3, right? Probably the back half of the year, and some people are now saying, okay, well, my home search is now on pause until that time frame, right? So just further building this pent up demand for housing in these areas. And we've really kind of spun off the conversation into, okay, we know there's a lot of pent up demand, right? And if interest rates do come down, these buyers are going to flood into the market, right? And our recommendation for anybody, who is watching this and considering buying or selling, knowing that the likelihood of that happening if interest rates do come down and prices do go up, consider doing that now. All right. There's enough sellers on the market right now that are looking to sell that are not getting any offers. Right. And there's opportunity out there to go negotiate with sellers. It's not on every home. Right? I don't want to lead you into believing that this is like a ghost town for buyers. There's still a lot of active buyers out there.
Yep.
Right. And the buyers that are buying now, just like the buyers who bought in 2021, when they put $30,000 or $40,000 over asking, they're actually doing the happy dance right now. All right. Saying, I'm so glad I get into a 3% interest rate or a 4% interest rate. And now I have on average, $100,000 to $150,000 in equity built into my property over the last couple of years. So it's a big decision, but I would encourage you to at least have that conversation with us, or your mortgage officer or your financial planner, just understanding, what's happening with this housing market. And if the rates do come down, the prices do go up, how that's going to affect you, right? How would you feel if you bought today and that did play out that way? So it's really just comes down to making sure that you can afford what you're purchasing today. And I'm not saying go stretch yourself, make good financial decisions. And we're always here to help with that, and now we're talking about some local municipalities changing, the laws and the policies to bring affordable housing in to some communities here in Southeast Michigan, which we're already starting to see, some good initiatives too, which I'm super happy for. Because Sophia, how many times have we taken calls from people that say, hey, I want to move to, Washtenaw County or Livingston County. And when we start getting into the numbers, it's like, okay, well, what's your budget and what are you looking for first? And the most common one that I have, and this is not to poke fun, I've heard it so many times that it just gets ingrained in my head of we'd like an acre parcel, a little bit of privacy. We at least want 1,600 to 1,800 square feet, and we want a fenced in backyard. We want a pole barn. And it's okay. What's the budget? Around $200,000. And those properties haven't existed for more than 30 years, here in Livingston County. Yeah. So those type of things and those desires don't align with the reality of where we're at in the housing market. So we just want to bring some reality to the conversation, share kind of behind the scenes, how we think about things, right? If that resonates with you, we're happy to dive deeper into, those conversations with you one-on-one basis. And, we got a guy here coming from Peru. Sophia, how do you say that name? Because I'm going to always butcher it.
Adalberto.
See?
Hi, Adalberto.
Adalberto is coming into Michigan from Peru next year. How's the price of average house in Michigan? So I did ask him, if you are still watching, what area you're moving to, because that's going to be, or target moving to, because that's going to be dependent on, some areas. If you're going into Southeast Michigan, there's a lot of different communities that have varying price ranges, but overall the average price in Michigan, is right, if including Detroit, it's right around $250,000.
I'd say that's Wayne County, right? That's for Wayne County in my head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, go ahead, Juan.
No, I agree. The thing, you said something a minute ago. I just wanted to circle back around. So you said we want to help you make good decisions. We want to help you make good housing decisions. Right? Ultimately, like, I think Eric just put a new tagline together for our business, but like that's really all we're trying to accomplish, right? Is just to make sure we help people make good housing decisions. And the reason is because we know, statistically speaking, that the people who own homes, right, their net worth is 40 times higher than the average renter. 40 times. And that's not rhetoric, that's data, right? We get into that. And like, when you hear things, it just, there's stuff that we're taught that makes me cringe, right? That just makes me cringe. And listen, it's not always a good time to buy, but there's for you. Okay. So like, that is the caveat. It is always a great time to own another piece of real estate, to purchase another piece of real estate, to put that in your portfolio, to never let go of it. Okay. It's always a great time to do that. It's like the old adage of when's the best time to plant an oak tree? Well, 100 years ago. But if you haven't done that, then you want to start today, right? It's the same thing with housing. Now, are there terrible times to sell? 100%. Right? But buying those assets, we've showed these charts time after time on here. You don't know anyone that's owned a home for 10 years that is disappointed that they bought it. You most certainly don't know anyone who's owned a home for 20 years that's disappointed that they bought it, right? That meme was running around where it had a baby boomer lady out front dancing in front of her house. She's like, dancing in front of my $1.3 million home that I bought for $83,000 back in 1976. And she's like, yeah, right? And like, that is correct, right? That is exactly the way that this machine works. Whether we like it or not, that's the reality of it. And the longer you sit on the sideline, the longer you delay the opportunity to move yourself forward, if this is what you're trying to accomplish in life. Listen, if you're a transient being and you have no interest in being locked down, don't buy a house. It's a terrible decision. It is a terrible decision unless it is part of your wealth building strategy. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday on the way home, where a guy was wanted to move to Vegas to be around. He's in marketing. He wanted to be around a specific group of people who were doing big things. And the guy who was leading the podcast has been telling him to do that for 3 years. He's like, man, put your house up for Airbnb. Come out here and get a house in Vegas, and we'll rock together. And he kept putting it off. And he did that this past July. And he said his home is rented out for the next 7 months at $10,000 a month, and his mortgage is $2,000.
Nice.
So I'm sharing this with y'all because someone who bought the asset, who was nervous and anxious about doing the thing because they didn't know how they were going to make it work, is now not only living for free in Las Vegas, they're getting paid to live in Las Vegas. They're profiting above and beyond their new living expenses. That's how well it's going. You want to be transient? Great. Go buy some real estate. Right? So back to you, Eric.
That fastest way to financial freedom, and understanding there's a lot that goes into investing. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want to be landlords. Some people don't want to do that. There's a lot of different ways to invest in real estate without, being the landlord and being the person that, has to respond to every issue. That's why they have management companies. So, but, just to kind of wrap this conversation up, again, we want to shine a spotlight on really what's happening, where we think this market is going, because again, we're having these conversations day in and day out. We're going to wait, we're going to list next spring. We're going to list next summer. Okay, great. What do we think is the reason for that? And I love asking this question, is like, we're going to wait. Okay. Well, what makes you say that? All right. Well, because we want to sell at a higher price and we think we can get it, next summer. Okay. Well, are you buying anything? Are you going to be buying a home as well? Yeah, we're going to be buying a home as well. Okay. Do you need to sell first, before you buy? Some people do, some people don't. Right. And those are all the things that you need to take into consideration, because if you think that, home prices are going to be higher next summer, well, they're also going to be higher when you buy. as well. So is that the best decision for you given the circumstances? Right. And that's really what we're trying to get to the root of. And everybody's situation always unique.
Yep.
All right. And that's ultimately, the questions that we like to ask to help drive some decisions that could, potentially be life-changing for most people. We're working with a lot of investors too, that we're talking about, cap rates and these type of things. And it's getting a little bit more compressed in the commercial real estate because funding's drying up. But if you are an investor, there's still a lot of opportunity out there right now as well. I've seen investors pivot over the past, 60 to 90 days into looking at MLS where they didn't even look at MLS properties before. They were only focused on off-market properties because that had the best spread in it. Now they're going onto the MLS because like I said before, everybody is just discarding these properties that have been on over, 30 days and saying, there must be something wrong with it. I see it all the time. An investor comes in, offers $50,000, $60,000 below ask, and the seller's just happy to, oh my gosh, I got an offer. It's not the greatest offer, but at least it's an offer on the table and somebody's willing to talk to me, right? Even in a low inventory market. So, there's always opportunity in every single market, and you just got to look for it and know what you want and if it's the best time for you to buy. So, we'll wrap that segment up. Adalberto says perhaps some other cities near Shelby Township. Okay. Yeah, Shelby Township's a nice area. That I was looking it up as you were going. Average price point over in that area is just over 400,000. I think it was like 425,000 when I looked. So Sophia, you also wanted to talk about some local things that are happening here in Brighton. You got some plans for New Year's?
Yeah. So yeah, actually, but before I get into that, Adalberto, I'd love to talk to you more. So reach out to me, or if you have a way for me to connect with you that you can, our information is down here, right? Where he can
Yep.
shoot over his contact info.
All down below.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. So let's connect, you and I, okay? All right. Yeah. So I actually just wanted to talk about the Reserve, which is the newest steakhouse in Brighton. Have you been yet, Eric? I'm just wondering.
We have not yet, but we've been inside. I haven't eaten there, but I've been inside. I've toured it, and it's phenomenal. It's a great looking restaurant. It fills a void in Brighton like none other. We needed a good steakhouse around here, a good classy steakhouse.
Well, everyone can help me put pressure on Eric to join us for the bash, him and his wife. So, because they're having a New Year's Eve bash. I was going
to ask you to babysit, Sophia. I'm kidding.
No, I'm busy that night. I'm busy. I don't know if you have if Eric, if you can pull up a website or a screenshot, or I got the event info from Facebook. So they're having a New Year's Eve bash. And I actually had a conversation with the manager earlier today. I was working out some reservation stuff, but basically they're going to have regular dining up until about 8:30. So that's where you can have an actual table and meal and order off the menu. But from 9 to midnight is the bash. It's $40 per person. And you get 2 drink tickets, and then they have like bar appetizers. So there will be food available there. But yeah, it sounds like a great time. I'm going to be there. I'm trying to get Eric to be there too. Kelly Vaught's going to be there as well. So it sounds like it's going to be a good time. I just wanted to bring awareness, to the viewers. If you guys don't know about the Reserve yet, and they are going to have something going on for New Year's Eve. So I'm excited. The past, I don't know how many New Year's Eves I've been in a house, on a couch or on a table or something. So I'm just excited to get out for New Year's Eve. So
where's the location?
It's right downtown, right on Main Street in Brighton.
Nice.
Main Street, Brighton. So I hope to see some of you there. And if you recognize me, say hi, come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you guys in person.
What restaurant did they take over?
It was actually a new location. So there was 2 buildings that got built downtown Brighton. home of Buff City Soap. So there's some investors, that built these 2 locations, condos on top. There's some office space on top. It's a mixed use, which is
Nice.
really good. We're going to be getting a little bit more of that in downtown Brighton too. So for those of you local that are watching, these 2 new buildings, this one's been vacant for a little bit. The flagship store is Buff City Soap, which is really cool. It's a artisan soap shop. It's a franchise, but we got our first one here in Brighton, and they do a lot of events with kids. You can make your own. Why am I blanking on like the bubble bath type stuff or the bath bombs? That's what I'm looking for. The bath bombs. I don't like the bath bombs from that place because they put these little like glitter sparkle things in there and the dye, and it just leaves the scum all over your bathtub. And the girls love it. They're like, "Oh, it smells so good." I'm like,
I was
"Yeah,
gonna say, girls
you don't
love
have you don't have to clean it up."
Look, right there is the little snippet, the 2024 thing. I think they're having like some kind of mini ball drop type thing. I don't know if you can make that bigger or not.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's dining in the ball drop bash is really the name. I tried to make it bigger, they couldn't. It's gonna go
Eric,
away.
have you seen the movie Trolls?
Yes, yeah.
Every time,
Glitter bomb.
yeah, exactly. Glitter bomb and Lady Glitter Sparkle, the whole thing. Like, just every time I hear that, it just makes me laugh. I was in a house this week, y'all, that had popcorn ceilings with glitter in them. Oh yes, and they were so proud. The sellers were so proud. They
That
were
just
like,
made me think of a buyer who would have turned around and walked right out of there if I took her in that house.
she pointed it out 3 times, and she was so proud. And I was like, God bless you. It really is like, and the house is immaculate. I mean, I literally was blown away. It was one of those houses that was pristine. The carpet that was installed in there in 1974 is still in all 3 bedrooms. And you know which ones I'm talking about, right? Like that, like reddish mauve color, and then like the purple plumish kind of one. Like, but it was like it was perfect. It was almost like it was like the day it rolled on the factory floor. Outside of, you could see where the beds were for 50 years. But it was just fascinating, man. So sorry to get distracted here, but as soon as you said glitter, I was staring at this popcorn ceiling, which nobody wants anymore, just in case anyone is wondering. Right?
This menu does not even look tasty anymore.
Sparkles on the ceiling was insane. Kobe burger.
Throw some sparkles on this menu. For those of you wondering, this is the menu for the steakhouse. They got traditional, soup, salad. Their entrees. They do have salmon as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to try them out. I love Brighton Bar and Grill, so I'm gonna I'm gonna compare them after I eat here.
I was gonna say, what steaks you got? Porterhouse, tomahawk. That's what's up.
Now, I've heard this is like the go-to. The
Chateaubriand.
Chateaubriand for 2. How do you even say that?
Chateaubriand.
We think that's how it's pronounced. What is it prepared? 24 ounce. I can't read that. What does it say? Barrel cut.
24 ounce barrel cut cab fillet.
Well, 24 ounces of fillet is a lot of steak. That's a lot of steak. So looks like a fair deal. What is it? $239? Is that what it says?
Yes, sir.
What does it say? Prepared table side. You get the steak, 2 sauces, potatoes, dessert choice. Okay. I mean, that's about right.
Yeah, they got lobster tail, they got ribeye, they got filet mignon, porterhouse, tomahawk. If you want to get crazy, cowboy ribeye. So, yeah, this is right up my alley. We've just not had a weekend or a night. Like, this is not a restaurant we're going to bring the girls to.
Hey, I say New Year's, put them to sleep, put the kids to bed, give them their bath bombs, tuck them in with grandma and grandpa, and meet me at the reserve.
That's right.
We will definitely check that out. But
if his wife
what you just
talk him into this.
What you just reminded me of, which I think is a fantastic idea, is we should reserve a ticket for 2 or 3 or 4. And then one of these weeks, in the coming weeks, we should give this away in the group.
Sounds like a great idea.
Thank you for the amazing idea. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned, because we will be giving away some reservations here to some New Year's dining for all of you moms and dads who might be forgetting to make New Year's reservation dinners.
Talking about himself.
Yes. Yeah. I'll double that up for us.
My wife schedules date in my calendar, and I still forget to make reservations. So like, how how bad is that, right? Yeah. Eric loves steak, just so everybody knows, right?
I
He's
do.
definitely-
I can't help it. I'm on the animal based diet, so yeah.
Ribeye, if you were wondering, is the preference.
Ribeye is my go-to.
Which is, let's be real, y'all. That is the best steak. It's the best cut.
Great marbling, right? It's the marble. It has the best marbling in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that wants to take the fat out of my steak, you and I can't be friends, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's like somebody taking a fillet and wrapping it in bacon. It's like you could have got the fat. you could have got it, right? Like you passed by it, now you're putting bacon on it. Like, why? Because it needs fat, right? Like, stop stealing the fat away from the meat, y'all. That's where all the deliciousness is. Like dark meat, turkey, dark meat, chicken. Like, this is where the magic happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason you don't like turkey is because white meat sucks.
Yeah.
Let's be real, right? It's robbed all the joy. It's like fat-free everything. Don't make no
dry.
sense.
Well,
of course,
boring.
yeah, they're like, it's great with gravy. Yeah, there's a reason for that, right? Like, again, you're adding the fat back into the party. Like, stop trying to, like, listen, don't mess with nature. It's perfect, right? Perfect.
We were all fooled as youngins when we all listened to the stats about red meat. You know, they raise your cholesterol. They do all this stuff. That's not what's raising your cholesterol.
The war on fat, right?
Trust me. We can do a whole nother live about food. Sophia knows what I'm talking about. Sophia started doing the same meal planning that I'm on.
Yeah.
I lost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
I didn't even start working out. I literally just changed what I was consuming and being more mindful about what I cut out. All processed foods, all snack foods, all that crap, right? Sugars, just got rid of it and dropped 30 pounds just like that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Looking at video from the last year and a half to now, like Eric's face is way thinner, his jawline's more pronounced. I'm going the other direction just in case. He sent it my way.
He looks like a different person. Yeah, his contact photo is old Eric. He pops up. I'm like, who is this?
I updated that. You should get the update.
Get the update version. I'm gonna do that after this. Yeah.
I thought I sent that to you. But anyways, all right. Now we're rambling.
Yeah.
We gotta get the kids to bed.
Okay.
But awesome live. So for those of you watching, still here with us, thank you for tuning in. We covered a lot of ground today, in terms of the Fed interest rates, where the housing market's going here in Ann Arbor and Southeast Michigan. And, we're just really kind of skimming the surface on these conversations. Again, everybody's situation, is a little bit unique. So if you are making that move here to Michigan, we definitely want to talk to you. Give us a call, just text us, email, or even schedule that Zoom call. Contact information is down below. We can hop on Zoom, talk about all of your needs and wants, your situation, and more importantly, show you the city through our eyes. That way we can match you up with the ideal lifestyle, because ultimately we don't sell homes, we sell lifestyles. So, if that interests you guys, give us a call and we'd be happy to chat. Sophia will be taking you guys out, myself included, and getting your home search started. So thanks again for tuning in. Any final words from tonight, Sophia?
No, I don't have any. Just we had a good night. And again, I hope to see you guys at the Reserve on New Year's Eve.
Absolutely. We will see you there with some extra reservations to give away to our community here. Juan, anything for everybody watching here in the audience?
No, just keep your eye on where things are headed right now. We're in that really interesting zone, right? Inflation has the trend is cooling, right? So like we showed you that trend. If that continues, this pause for sure will be prolonged. The Federal Reserve has come out and said that. I'm the guy who watches the Fed. I read the Fed minutes and I watch the actual meetings and the press conference he holds. But here's where they're pointing towards. As long as things continue trending like this, they're going to be a pause. There's no indication that They haven't said they're going to come out and cut rates. He just hasn't said it. So that article is insane. The Wall Street is banking on that. And I think it's fair. It's definitely fair to look at. But the point of that with you guys is like, if that is true, then now really could be, and I'm not saying it is, but if that's true, if they start to move on rates in early spring, then theoretically right now is the best time to make a purchase, right? Because you're going to have lower competition for sure, depending on what area you're in, y'all. I want to be perspective because like each neighborhood is different right now. They're all acting independent. But in general, there's less competition. The people that are in the market are serious about doing the thing. There are sellers willing to make concessions. If you need concessions, target homes that have been on the market for 30 days or more. Okay, that's a great place to start. If something's been on the market for 60 days, now you're ripe for an opportunity. So keep your eyes peeled on those things. But once that thaw comes, right, you don't have to take my word for it. Go look at sales histories. Okay, in Metro-Detroit and Southeastern Michigan, your season starts as soon as that thaw occurs. The first 65-degree day, Eric is going to start getting phone calls from people ready to list, right? People getting back in the market because they're done freezing all winter. They're ready to get going and they want to be in their new home before school starts, which really means they have a 3.5-month buying window to make sure they're in their new home in order for the kids to start schools. This is just the way real estate works in Southeastern Michigan. Yeah. So now is a great time if you're looking to buy to get in. And if you believe that interest rates are going to come down, make your refi next year. All right. I'm hoping for it. I got a 7.15 that we bought into. Hey, if this thing gets down to 5.5, I'm going to get a nice raise. Right. I'm going to get a nice raise. And I'm good with that. If it doesn't, I got a great house. I'll be in it for at least 10 years. It's going to change my family's future. Period. So thanks for tuning in tonight, y'all. We appreciate it. I know that we've been a little bit technical and on the number side, but it's just important to kind of have perspective, right? Like we want to, like Eric said earlier, we want to help you make good housing decisions. Period. And if you guys need us, you got us. All the contact information is below. You can reach Eric on Instagram at Eric Meldrum. RE, that stands for real estate. For those of you that don't know, you can reach me at juan.alcala.realtor. You can reach Sophia at Sophia_realtor. Sophia Cruz _realtor. So make sure you reach out to there. Get right in our DMs. We're happy to have a conversation. All of our contact information is listed down below. There's even a link to Eric's calendar where he can be at your beck and call. Literally, you can jump in there, have conversations. Love to make that connection, y'all. Thanks for sharing this evening with us. And it's just been a blessing to have you. Thanks for everyone who trusts us as well. We appreciate you guys more than you know.
See you, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.